Hey, it's Monster, one half of your dynamic hosting duo of the Nerdy Man Room Show. Proudly bringing you another Man Room Short. Enjoy, and as always, please remember, viewer discretion is advised.
I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a documentary series on Roku, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It escapes my mind at the moment, but it's supposed to be about the rivalry between Marvel and DC, and you get to watch it and you realize all of them on there talking. And they show you when you watch the trailer like I did. They're like, "Oh, this was a very serious rivalry." I'm like, I don't remember it being that way. And then you watch the series, they're like, there was a rivalry between executives on both sides, but everybody else was like, we were all friends. Half of us that worked at Marvel lived with the other half that worked at DC because we were sharing rooms because we couldn't afford stuff. And it's like we weren't fighting. We were going to parties together and dressing up as each other's character.
and it was more, and the rivalry was more about corporate culture.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that I think would have been interesting, and we might get into it in a little bit, but you talk about some of the what ifs and things, and if you watch some of that documentary, and this is where I noticed that the corporate culture gets in there, and it's like the whole reason they killed Superman when they killed Superman is because they were going to write the story of Superman and Lois getting married. They said, no, you can't do that because we farmed them out to the Lois and Clark TV show, and that's going on, and we don't want them engaged or just dating or just getting to know each other there and married in the comic books, so it'll confuse people. So they said, well, let's just kill him then.
Well, and then also you got to remember that if you see the documentary about that whole thing, when that book came out, there was absolutely nothing else around the world that was happening in news that day. Nothing. So it took the entire world by storm because they had nothing else to report on.
That was big news. That was big news at the time. Was.
And then that's when they knew they were in a spot because it wasn't supposed to last that long. And they were like, oh, my God, we got all this worldwide attention. We've got to drag it out and come up with a plan B, C, and D because what have we done?
Yeah, and I remember the name of the show now. It was Slugfest. It's on Roku. But you talk about that when they got into Spider-Man, they said, well, we need to do something for Spider-Man because Superman and Spider-Man were the two they talked about a lot as far as struggling for who's going to be the more popular top seller because that's your kind of your iconic character for each one. And they're like, Superman's killing us since he died and came back, and we're not doing anything since X-Men #1 came out, so what are we going to do? They said, let's do the Spider-Man clone saga, and then they were like, okay, this is going to be like a 3-month thing, and then every month they were like, no, you can't end it because it's selling too well. Keep writing the story. They just kept dragging it on and on and on.
That's where they went back, because they just, there was too many spinoffs. It started getting really muddled along the way because it started out very promising, and they could have still ended it very promising, personally to me, but next thing you know, you just got 75 issues of various spinoffs and one shots here, there, or the other. Plus, I mean, you got to figure Spider-Man during the time he had 3 titles a month, and one of those titles was bi-weekly. So typically, you have 4 Spider-Man books a month, and that's a lot of damn issues on top of the fact that you got one shots here, or there, and the other, and it just got very overwhelming for a fan.
And when a company has to do the clone files and bring you up to date on what you may have missed, there's a problem. The storyline has been played out.
Yeah, and that was one of the things they were talking about in that documentary. Like, we can't keep up with what was going on from week to week or who was writing what part, and it became a whole mess. But